Hello and welcome to a new episode of Women's Issues, Women's Voices. I am your host on rotation, Scout. And on today's episode of A Day in Herstory, we're exploring the intersection of medicine, identity, creativity, and burnout with our guest, Kari Malwitz.
Kari Malwitz.
Kari Malwitz, apologies. Better known in her creative life as Lady Poetic. Kari's story takes us from the intense early years of medical training through the lived reality of physician burnout and into the reclamation of voice through hip-hop inspired poetry and music. Her work is not only created but formally cataloged as a medical biography.
Yes.
Yep. And case study documenting burnout and secondary traumatic stress in physicians. So tonight we'll talk about why someone working in high-stress medical career might also seek creative outlets, what that pursuit looks like emotionally and psychologically, and how creativity becomes a tool for resilience rather than escaping, especially for women. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. That was an awesome introduction. It sounds exciting. Glad to be here.
When I first got introduced to you, I was looking for just musicians for a 5-minute showcase and another show that we host here. And you reached out and you're like, hey, I have some music. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I usually check into people, especially when it's women, because I have this show and I'm like, who can I pull on Women's Issues, Women's Voices? And so in researching you, I saw that you'd also written a book and I was like, oh, and she's also a doctor. So like there's a little bit more than just your music that you've got going on. So let's talk about you. Tell us, where did you grow up? What was your early environment like? And how did we get here?
Absolutely. Yeah. And cut me off and redirect me as I go.
Absolutely.
So I'm, thank you so much again for having me on the show this evening. I'm
Absolutely.
glad to have a platform to share my story. I'm from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, born and raised, born in 83, grew up to 2 elementary school teachers. Both of my parents were, and a brother and a sister. Some earliest memories surround music, lots of music in the household.
Yeah,
my dad was in a band growing up, Jamie and the Exiles.
Oh, that's wonderful. My dad's been in a few bands growing up as well. He leaned more towards the metal side of things, so doesn't quite sound that might be where your family was at.
Probably more Rolling Stones inspired and
Okay.
a lot of 60s, 70s bands, but grew up just with a very eclectic mix of music in the household. So walking around with the Fisher-Price boombox and collecting my own cassette tapes and CDs after some time. But I remember writing at the earliest of ages, a toddler, making construction paper books and illustrating and writing my own stories.
Okay.
So writing from the earliest years and then getting more into music as time went on too.
Okay, so where did doctor come into that?
That's a great question. So I think that was part of the transition there was as I'm getting so into writing these books and short stories, and they developed over time. I mean, from 4, 5, 6 years old, 7, 8 years old, I'm 14, 15, writing notebooks still with short stories, novellas, illustrating them, making music and writing poetry. And I'm getting ready to graduate high school, and I had to make a decision at that time. Like, I don't know if this is the lifestyle that I can use to support myself. I don't know if I can make a career this way, or if that's how I want to make a career by writing books. I mean, it's a long shot in the dark to be the next Stephen King or Judy Blume.
That's true.
Or R.L. Stein, or to be a household name as a musician.
Right.
So I wanted to have something to fall back on or something to support me as I went through my artistic endeavors and creations.
So you were like, I'm going to be...
the hardest thing I could possibly be.
Well, you said, I intend to create art. I intend to create music. But I need something that's going to support that.
That's right.
And so, but you did. You picked like the most stressful
the hardest,
thing.
longest, most grueling process imaginable.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's such I've never thought to do research into that as far as like how many people have gone through, like either they wanted to or they were like, I'm using this to support my other means, going through medical training and school and all of that stuff, and then is like, if I can get over here to the creative side, and there's quite a few that have made that jump and have been able to do it successfully, but still maintain trying to do your, how do you do it?
I don't know some days. I ask myself that some days. How am I doing this? How am I balancing this all out? I think at this point in time right now, I've gotten to the point where I've gotten comfortable enough and further along enough in my career that I have the emotional and creative bandwidth to dive back into the writing and to the music.
Okay. So so we're kind of taking a step back here. So you're graduating high school and you're like, okay, I got to do something. And the most that I can probably, that so was it just like this particular thing fits, or, I have some people go into medical because they're like, oh, empathetic, they want to work with people, and it seems to give an opposite effect to those actually working in there. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It wasn't quite that way for me. I didn't know what I was going to do as far as a profession or a career at that time. Again, I came from 2 elementary school teachers. Aunts and uncles are teachers. That's what most of the people in our family ended up going into, was academics and teaching. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something bigger and more exciting and colorful. So I was like, what else can I do here? And so I started just going through kind of the basic sciences in college and taking a little bit of everything. And I was very much in theater and speech and history and a lot of, English. So a lot of different things that weren't science-based. But as I'm going along during this career path, I met my mentor at the time. And he said, you remind me so much of me. You should go into psychiatry. Specifically that, not just medicine, but psychiatry as a field. I'm like, wow, that's the first guiding thing that anyone's kind of said to me at that point in time. So I thought about it. I'm like, in the back of my mind, maybe I thought I would always be a physician from early on or do something big like that, but I wasn't sure about it. But hearing that and then getting that guidance from that point on.
Somebody says, I have the confidence that you could actually do this, especially when it comes to providing for health. It's such a fickle thing. Oh, yes, yes. And everybody's different. So I would definitely feel very confident to jump. I think I can do that. So you're like, okay, somebody's giving me direction. So your professional field medically is what exactly?
I'm a double board certified psychiatrist, and I have a subspecialty in geriatric psychiatry, and I'm an assistant professor for the School of Medicine. Okay, that's very lovely to hear. That's what I do professionally, yes.
Okay, and that's I could be wrong because I'm not a doctor and I did not go to medical school, but psychiatry is usually longer than most other medical professions. You have like nurses and stuff. They're in there for a while, but they're not in there near as long because they don't need to know the different. Is psychology? I always thought it was such a longer process. You had 10 years you had to be in school.
It depends on what path you take. If you're going to be a psychiatrist, it's medical school and it's a 4-year medical residency. If I wanted to be a family medicine doctor, it'd be going through medical school and doing a 3-year residency, maybe a subspecialty. Neurosurgery, go through medical school, do a 7-year residency. Mm-hmm. So it's the same path as a physician, and the residency years depend on what type of field you want to do. Psychology, you're going to be probably going for a PhD or at least a master's, depending on what field or type of work you get into, and that is also a very long career path.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really amazing. Do you see your work do you feel like where you're at right now is you can see it in the community, what you're doing?
This is the best job I ever had.
Yeah.
And I can say that with such certitude and confidence. I'm exactly where I need to be. I trained for my residency here at the university.
Okay.
And and then I went back to Wisconsin and I practiced medicine there for 6 years. And then I came back here, and this is right where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. So you were like, I'm in my element here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you have, so one of the first things I noticed going through your photos was the braids. I went back as far as 2008. I was like, okay, she's been doing this as I'm sure as soon as she said I can style my own hair, this is what I want to do.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
12, 13 on. This is the only way I've ever worn my hair.
About 13 is when we start really perfecting the braids. So I was like, I'm going to say this is what she said. This is what my hair is.
Yep.
And it looks to be such a part of your identity. Do people say anything about that?
Yes, and yes, this is part of my identity, and I get questions about it pretty much with every style or color. Who does it for you? How long does it take? Do you wash your hair? I thought about making a T-shirt with questions and answers on it.
Does that have was there any kind of influence in for that, or was it just I figured it out one day that I could braid my hair and it's just...
Oh, there was definitely an influence. So one of my best friends growing up who kind of melded me into her family and became family for me, my friend Ebony, I learned how to braid through her and from her, and then I would take turns braiding each other's hair and then family members' hair, and then I learned how to do my own and kind of went from there.
That's fantastic. I was like, I can definitely tell you're immersed. Yes. You've been deeply immersed. Okay. So I want to kind of talk about, I don't want to get too far into your book because we've actually got some songs.
You have some music tonight, yes.
I do have some of your music that we're going to play, which I was listening on the way over. I've listened to it several times in between you sending it to me and me airing it, so I do appreciate it. Okay, so as far as you're like, I'm this is where you're at. This is your element here, and psychology is at this point your bread and butter. Do you feel like okay, now I kind of asked as far as like an impact where you see an impact on what you're doing in the community. Have you been able to have like, okay, for me, for example, I have had a child recently, so I had to go see a psychiatrist, postpartum depression, all that fun stuff that comes with your body being hormonal. And then for a while I had other stuff happening, so I kind of put off my therapy and things. And I find that I of course don't work in psychology, so I wouldn't know. But it does seem like when you kind of drop off from your appointments, really, do you guys ever wonder? Is it like we were working so well, and now you're just curious as to what's going on with the person that's just stopped showing at their appointments?
Oh, absolutely. And for me in the clinic setting, I would overthink that. Oh, I hope so-and-so's okay. I hope this X, Y, and Z didn't happen. Why aren't they here?
Do you see a lot of like success stories? I mean, it's really hard to say success story because therapy and just psychology and your mental is something that's just a long-term process that everybody has to come to terms with. And really it's just us trying to figure out how to work our brains that best work for us. But do you get a lot of people just being like, I think I'm doing really great?
No, not a lot. Not a lot, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But that also depends on the setting that I'm in where I'm seeing people. Mm-hmm. For example, right now I'm purely in the hospital setting, so I only see acute cases that are in the hospital. I don't see one in the outpatient clinic setting or do any kind of psychotherapy right now. But when I was doing that, few and far between, but you would get those cases. Hey, I think I'm doing well enough. I think we can space out our appointments or stop our appointments. And that would be awesome. Or they wouldn't come, and then you would find out, well, they called and they said they're going to stop services. You're never going to get that thank you letter. But knowing that they progress and are doing well enough to not think to come back, that's where you're feeling.
That's the success there.
That's
fantastic. I love that. I always wonder because I'm like, I feel like the worst. I feel like I'm always like, I should call them and let them know. And like you get busy. Yeah, you just get like caught up in things that you're like, okay, well, I mean, they see like hundreds of patients. Surely they're not thinking about me every second of the day. But we do think. Yeah, so it is nice to know that you have a lot of patients, but you don't have so many that like people don't stand out to you. People do stand out all the time, especially when it comes to psychology. I feel like that's where people mostly stand out.
I like to learn things about people, and it's not about their diagnoses or their medicine or what we're doing in therapy necessarily, but it's something about the person.
Like what makes them tick and
yes, like I know that you like to garden. I know your dog's name. I know that you like to have coffee with your dad every Sunday. Like I'll remember these things about you.
Which is great because you need to be, because I feel like when we go into those kind of settings, you almost dehumanize yourself in it because you're trying to like diagnose yourself and you're trying to help the doctor diagnose you too and figure out how do I make my brain work the way it needs to. So it's great to hear that like as the doctor, you're like, I don't just see your diagnosis. I see the human that is you, your daily routines and what makes you tick throughout the day and just you living, because that's what we're all doing.
100%. Yes.
So, and I think that's something that gets which I want to say is probably more in line with what your book kind of goes over, because a lot of times in medical professionals, you guys get kind of desensitized because of just the amount of things that you're dealing with, and emotionally, that's got to be overwhelming.
Very much so. Very much so. You hear some people say they get jaded over time or they get desensitized to things over time, or it hurts every time and all the time, and you just need to figure out how to work through that yourself.
Right. Yeah, so I would say that anybody in any kind of a medical profession is secretly a masochist.
I'm not going to disagree.
Gotta be. There's gotta be something because to subject yourself to that much pain every day, emotionally, physically, mentally, and just so that you know that whoever's on the other side of that is getting the help they need, man. You could get so much more joy. Okay, but we are going to lead us into our first break. So we're going to play a song by Lady Poetic, and it is Kicks. Right. This one was you've done some work with Liebig, John Liebig. I have. He features on a lot of our stuff that we end up playing here. So, but yes, Lady Poetic, Kicks on KOPN 89.5 FM. 1 second.
Oh! I like those kicks. Now those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire.
I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire. I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire. Remember back in the day we wore them new Jordans and Reeboks. Cop them Nike Cortez with the footsie socks. Sported boomers, started rumors by the lockers. Jordan shorts and Vans, skating by with the hot tops on. First to get the latest feelers, then bump some Lachey. Heard that new Master Ace, throw my boots on stores a mile away. Snatching up new vinyls, lacing up my pair of BK Nights. With the triple aces, goodness gracious, they got lights. Timberlands in the winter, never got into those Uggs. Thought about some red bottoms, but I'm still a thug. Kept my toesies cozy with a brand new pair of slippers. Maybe rock the leather with the side phrase and a zipper. Anytime I rock those K-Swiss, fellas bumping my fist. Stand in line at a concert, popping off in these Converse, hoping nothing spills upon my new white trainers. I'm trying to stay on point like Stacey Adams. I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire. I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire. I'm trying to keep this new pair clean. Brushing with the toothbrush, bleach the laces, now I mean. Velcro cleats, Bobos neat, house shoes rock the bells. New Chuck Taylors for the streets, do live and tell. Tap shoes in the closet, combat boots on a deposit. DC's when I'm stomping all around up in the mosh pit. Feel the need to set the vibe and tie it to an outfit. Penny loafers with the three-piece suit, chilling in the office. Spitting about what's on your feet. Heard you running with them Brooks, New Balance, Prevent and Callus. Stunting with them looks, still a fan of Shelto Adidas. Rocking with my joggers, got the knockoff Crocs when I kayak through the marshes. Got 6-inch stilettos when I'm feeling kinda feisty. Pimping alligator shoes, cigar lit with a match. Remind me, what time we clubbing? Got some pro wings for my fit. Finest when I'm barefoot in this kitchen, but this one's about the kicks. I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire. I like those kicks. Those are fly. Goes with your drip. Yeah, you's on fire.
Yo, I like them kicks though. Where you get them from? A word? That's nice. That's nice.